Hey, son. What you up to?
Sorry, just sleeving up a deck.
Right. Listen, I'll make this easy. Your mother saw you sleeving up a copy of Captain Carey. Son, are you a racist?
What? No, Dad, I don't even like racing. I mean, I would never build a deck centered around an intergalactic derby. Trust me. I am definitely not a racist.
Okay, good to hear.
I just think we should be allowed to say gold pride.
Oh,
What? I don't think that's so. I mean, what's the problem?
Where did I
when
go
you think about it,
wrong?
I just.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. TCG exclusive archetypes have historically been hit or miss. Sure, some of the most meta-defining archetypes in the game have premiered stateside: Burning Abyss, Spiral, War Rock, but some of the weakest archetypes of all time also started life as TCG exclusives. Dream Mirror, FA, Mutant, so everybody's chomping at the bit to see which category Gold Pride cards fall into. Well, watch the video. Presenting Gold Pride.
I love gold!
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck just got a huge redesign, but it's still the #1 place to go for a pack simulator, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I personally use the site to post every 10-minute testing list and every Chalice Slime Monthly Top Cut entry. Give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's get into Gold Pride. Gold Pride is a series of monsters, spells, and traps that all center around the greatest race in the multiverse. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon any of their on-theme monsters, then perform powerful extra deck summons into monsters that tag out at instant speed, taking opponents' cards with them. They've got novel and diverse forms of removal, enough consistency that you'll almost always find your setup play, and my wife is part of the archetype. Unfortunately, if you stayed awake through the first sentence of that explanation, you probably have an inkling as to why these NASCARians might stop at the starting line. Your life points have to be lower than your opponent's to spam these speedsters from your hand, meaning you've got to figure out a way to start losing as soon as the game begins. Luckily, we've got the Punk engine. These cards require you to pay life points to activate their effects, getting you enough under your opponent that you can easily come from behind to cross the finish line. There are some other neat little synergies. Z-Almond's a level 3 tuner, which can occasionally make the generic Gold Pride synchro. Nitro Head's stat line syncs up well, pun intended, with the Amazing Dragon, and this deck's basically just a small world bridge away from any of its starters or extenders. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First, the Punks. We're playing 3 copies of Z-Almond, 2 copies of Shirakusai, 2 copies of Foxy Tune, 1 Ogre Dance, 1 Deer Note, and then 1 apiece of Wagon and Madam Spider. After that, our Gold Pride monsters. 3 copies of Nitro Head. This 8-star monster, if your life points are lower than your opponent's, can be special summoned from your hand. And then during your opponent's standby phase, you can special summon a Nitro token, level 8, 0 attack, 0 defense token to your opponent's field, but it can't be used as link material. Then during your opponent's main phase, you can target 1 Nitro token on the field, destroy the token, and destroy all cards in its adjacent monster zones and spell and trap zones. Not only is this really interesting and unique style of removal extremely strong, it also lines up very well against exactly Kashtira, clogging them with a monster, preventing them from special summoning a unicorn. We've got 3 copies of Gold Pride Leon. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target a non-warrior Gold Pride in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except Gold Prides. Then during your opponent's main phase, you can, as a quick effect, after this effect resolves, synchro summon a synchro monster using only Gold Pride monsters you control. Finally, we have Captain Carey. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Gold Pride trap from your deck to your hand. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Gold Pride monster you control that was special summoned from the extra deck, banish up to 3 Gold Pride cards from your graveyard, and that monster gains 500 attack for each banished card in this way. Finally, we are on 3 copies of Gamma and 1 Psyframe Driver. Never hurts to be playing this card in a deck with Emergency Teleport. Speaking of, we are supplementing that 3 E-Telly with 3 copies of Small World and 3 copies of Gold Pride. The Crowd Goes Wild. You can reveal a Gold Pride in your hand, add a Gold Pride with a different name from your deck to your hand, then special summon a Gold Pride from your hand and lose life points equal to its original attack. A great way to get under if you can't find the Punks. We're also on 1 copy of Punk Jam Extreme Session to draw cards, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 2 copies of Gold Pride Start Your Engines. If your opponent opponent normal or special summons a monster, target one of those monsters, reveal 3 gold prime monsters from your deck, your opponent picks 1 for you to special summon, shuffle the rest into the deck, then destroy the targeted monster, and 1 copy of Dangerous Gabu. In the extra, we have Rising Carp, Pep, Yukio Punk Amazing Dragon, Navy Dragon Mech, Ravenous Crocodragon Arceus, Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, Jam Dragon Drive, Gold Pride Star Leon. This card, during the main phase, can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It gains attack equal to that target's original attack. Then if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can destroy that monster. And once per turn during the end phase, if the previous effect was activated this turn, it goes back to the extra deck and special summons a Leon from your deck or graveyard. We're on an access code talker, a Unicorn, a Nitro Blaster, which can be made with 2 Gold Pride monsters with different levels, and allows you to target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and then if your life points are lower than your opponent's, destroy all cards in its adjacent monster zones and spell and trap card zones. And then during the end phase, if it was activated this turn, you can return it to the extra deck and summon a Gold Pride Nitro Head from your deck or graveyard. Finally, we're on a Nightmare Phoenix and a Psy-Frame Lord Lambda. In the side, we're on 3 copies of Lava Golem, 3 copies of Lightning Storm, 3 copies of Thrust, 3 copies of Evenly Matched, and 3 Solemn Judgment. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Scareclaw, and despite the fact that our opponent's hand contains 3 hand traps, we do have a pretty good one. We're going to begin with a copy of Crowd Goes Wild, and then we're going to special summon a copy of Captain Carry. After that, we're going to activate the effect of the Captain Carry and eat an Effect Veiler. No big deal, we still have plays. We're going to normal summon a Wagon and activate the effect. That's going to grab from deck to hand the field spell. We'll set the field spell after making a Star Leon and triggering the effect of the Captain Carry in graveyard to give it some more attack, and then we'll get a special summon of a Xiamen from our hand. We'll go for Xiamen. That's going to meet a second Effect Veiler, but no big deal. We still get to trigger the effect of the Extreme Session, and what do you know? We found a Foxy Tune. What are the chances? We'll go ahead and get a Sharakusai, activate the effect of the Sharakusai to make a Rising Carp, and then activate the effect of the Extreme Session again. We'll activate Rising Carp in order to go into Deer Note and Madam Spider. We'll activate the effect of the Madam Spider for another piece of negation. Then we're going to synchro summon a copy of Jam Dragon Drive. We're going to trigger the effect of the Deer Note and the effect of the Jam Dragon Drive in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Xiamen for next turn and special summon back this copy of Sharakusai. We'll special summon the Nitro Head, set 2 and pass back to our opponent, who will Magnemut at end step, then activate the on-field effect of Magnemut to grab themselves a copy of Druiswarm. They're going to draw for turn, and that's a pretty good one. We're going to go for Nitro Head to give them a token on their side of the field. They'll go Druiswarm, banishing this copy of Effect Veiler, and then in main phase 1, they can link those 2 off for a Cerberus. That's going to destroy our copy of Star Leon and our copy of Sharakusai, so we will activate the effect of the Sharakusai to make an Amazing Dragon. At point of resolution, we'll activate the effect of the Amazing Dragon and the effect of the Extreme Session, blocking it, and then they're going to fire off a Pot of Desires. They're going to normal summon a copy of Arco. We're going to activate Start Your Engines here in order to get that off the field, while summoning a Leon and triggering its effect in order to cycle back into a copy of Star Leon. They're going to go for Scareclaw Kashtira, and when they proceed to the battle phase, we will flip up the Dangerous Gabu to prevent it from attacking while in defense. They'll go into a Light Heart and activate the effect. We'll activate Star Leon in order to pop that, but they'll add Reichphobia, then activate Reichphobia to get a Vsauce. Wasn't considering that. They'll go ahead and destroy this copy of the Nitro Head token, and then cycle back the Light Heart, going into a Light Heart, activating Light Heart for a copy of Reichphobia, and then triggering Reichphobia because there's 3 defense position monsters on the field. We'll go for Star Leon here to tag into a Leon at end step, and we should be able to clean it up from this position. They'll flip up Twin Saw as early as possible, but it shouldn't be enough. In main phase 1, we'll activate the effect of Captain Carry, and then activate her on-field effect for another copy of the trap, and then we can go back into Star Leon. We'll activate the effect of Captain Carry to give it a ton of attack, then the effect of Star Leon in order to get rid of that Vsauce. Normal summon a Xiamen, activate its effect in order to grab a Sharakusai, then Ogre Dance in order to summon itself. That's going to trigger the Xiamen, summon it to our side of the field, and then get in for well over lethal. Our second match is up against Sword Soul, and despite the fact that we are going second, this Gamma is going to put in a ton of work. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Longwan. They'll activate the effect, pitching this copy of Taya to the graveyard, and walk face first into our Gamma. Thankfully, they don't have really much of anything else to do, so they're going to set 1 card and pass back with 2 hand traps in hand. No big deal. We're going to activate the Crowd Goes Wild and grab from our deck to our hand a Captain Carry, which we will then special summon. We'll activate the effect of the Captain Carry in order to grab Start Your Engines, and then we'll go for the Foxy Tune to grab a copy of Xiamen from deck. We'll activate Xiamen. That will eat an Effect Veiler. No big deal, no big deal. 3 plus 3 is still 6. We're going to go into Star Leon and trigger the effect of the Captain Carry to give it a ton of attack before going for a Gold Pride Leon, summoning it from our hand and going to the battle phase. Our opponent's going to activate Bestial Druiswarm in defense position. No big deal. We can activate Star Leon here in order to get that to the graveyard. They're going to get rid of our Star Leon. We'll set 2 and pass back to our opponent. They draw for turn a copy of Vishuddha. That's a problem. They'll use Vishuddha to summon itself, and then we'll activate Start Your Engines to get rid of it. They will chain Blackout, and we will chain, oh no, Infip in the same column. You gotta play around that type of thing. We'll special summon a copy of Captain Carry and then activate the effect in order to grab another copy of Start Your Engines, then activate the effect of the Gold Pride Leon to go into a Star Leon. We'll trigger the effect of the Captain Carry in graveyard to give it a ton of attack. We'll draw for turn, and what do we find? That's a pretty good one. We're going to special summon this copy of Gold Pride Leon from our hand, set 1 card, go to the battle phase, get in for 15 plus 35, and then pass it back to our opponent on 1 card. They draw for turn, and it's an Ash Blossom. but better safe than sorry. At end of main, we're going to go into a Ravenous Crocodile, draw a card. They will pass turn. We'll draw for turn, and we should be able to pop off from here. We're going to activate Emergency Teleport in order to grab a copy of Xiamen. We're going to activate the effect of the Xiamen, taking some damage in the process in order to grab a Shirakusai. We'll normal summon the Shirakusai and activate the effect to perform a fusion summon. We'll go into a Rising Carp, activate the effect of the Xiamen in graveyard, and the effect of the Rising Carp on field in order to go into a Wagon and a Deer Note. We're going to activate the effect of the Wagon for the field spell, and then afterwards we can perform a Synchro Summon of a Jam Dragon Drive. We'll activate the effect in order to grab material from our deck to our hand, then activate the effect of the Punk Jam Extreme Session as well in order to draw an additional card. Shirakusai returns and we'll make an Amazing Dragon. That's going to get rid of that card. We'll go to the battle phase and get in for lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. I am so happy that I get to say we are not playing against a Shizu Tearlament, but I'm pretty unsatisfied with what we are playing against. Look at this, the best deck in the format, and you expect it to be playing Dimensional Shifter Eebly? God, I am not looking forward to the next couple of months. We're going first. We're going to begin with a copy of Xiamen. We're going to activate Xiamen's effect in order to grab a Foxy Tune. We'll go for Foxy Tune, and they will Chain Dimension Shifter. Oh, that's terrible. If they had shotgunned it, we would have been able to Gamma. We'll go for Nitro Head, Leon Pass, but that's not inspiring confidence. Our opponent's going to draw for turn. We'll go for Nitro Head in order to give them a token. They are going to normal summon this copy of Eebly to make a Linger Rebo, then activate the effect of Scareclaw Kashtira, banishing this Tearlament Kashtira and attacking over our gold. They're going to go for Prime Planet and then go for the Rise Heart, summoning it, but oh no, your zone! Will activate Nitro Head in order to destroy the token and the Rise Heart, leaving them on next to nothing. We'll switch our Xiamen to defense position and activate the effect. That's going to grab us a Deer Note to hand. We'll activate the effect of the Deer Note in order to make a Dragon Drive. We'll trigger the effect of the Deer Note and the Xiamen and the Dragon Drive, and our opponent says, okay, let's just go next. So it's time for game 2, and gosh, that evenly matched in our opener is looking very, very good, as is our opponent's Solemn Judgment. Our opponent's going to go for Unicorn. They're going to grab from deck to hand a Kashtira Theosis. I'm still a Papayas truther. They're going to go Fenrir into a Rise Heart. They'll go for a Shangri-Ira and a Birth. That a Rise Heart is going to come down, and then afterwards they're going to activate the effect of the Rise Heart in order to banish a Big Bang. They'll trigger the effect of the Shangri-Ira and the effect of the Big Bang in order to cycle back a copy of Unicorn. Afterwards, they're going to overlay for a Diabolus the Mind Hacker. They'll banish a card from our extra and trigger the effect of the Shangri-Ira and the effect of the Diabolus to banish a couple more cards. That in turn will trigger the effect of the Shangri-Ira, and then they'll activate Birth in order to bring back the Unicorn. Finally, they'll go for an Rise Heart, normal summon a Unicorn, set 1 and pass. We are going to need this evenly matched 2 solo because this Lava Golem, even if I get it onto my opponent's side of the field, does not beat all of this. Unfortunately, Solemn Judgment will resolve, and let's not waste any more time here. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and oh wow, Infip Dimension Shifter plus full combo. This will be a nice one. We're going to begin with a copy of Emergency Teleport that will summon a Xiamen to our side of the field, and they will Shotgun Shifter. Okay, a little better than them activating it on Foxy Tune. Instead, we'll activate the effect of the Xiamen and the effect of the Captain Carry. That's going to grab a trap from our deck to our hand. Next, we're going to make Star Leon normal summon a Madam Spider. That's going to eat the Infinite Impermanence. That's nice because that just trades for 1 Infinite Impermanence from our side. We'll go for Gold Pride Leon and pass it back to our opponent. They'll draw for turn and an Infip off the top on Leon. Ugh, that's frustrating. They're going to go for the Pressure Planet. They'll grab themselves a copy of Unicorn, special summon a Fenrir. We'll go for Star Leon here, get it off the field, but Unicorn comes down next. We will activate the Infip, and I think we're actually fine. They're going to go to the battle phase and walk over the Leon, but we should be able to get out of this. We're going to tag out into our own Leon, draw for turn, and now we just have to clean it up. We're going to begin with the effect of Madam Spider. Actually resolves this time. We'll get a Dangerous Gabu. They'll go for Unicorn, but no big deal. We're going to normal summon a Wagon and activate the effect in order to grab from deck to hand the field spell. We're going to go into a Nightmare Unicorn. Unicorn v Unicorn action. We'll set 1, go to the battle phase, and attack directly for 22. We're still lower than our opponent, so we could theoretically turn on any gold prides that we draw off the top. They're going to go for the next Pressure Planet. They're going to go for Unicorn. We will activate Start Your Engines to get into a Nitro Head, and they can't activate the Papayas in their hand. We have a Nitro Head on our side of the field. All we have to do is activate Extreme Session, activate the effect of the Leon to summon itself, switch our monsters to attack, and somehow we have walked out of this best of 3. So we're back with the deck, and wow, we beat tier -1 Meta Threat Kashtira. That's got to count for something, right? Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, this deck's got unique interactions that shut down very specific meta decks. For example, Nitro Head is devastating to Cash. 2, it doesn't really play into Bystials often, so against decks like Bystial Branded, you'll be able to blank portions of their hand. And 3, its interaction is varied. The ability to bounce a mass amount of cards can be devastating when wielded correctly, and the archetypal trap is an E-Telly that destroys on summon. These are both sick versus Kashtira and Sprite. And the cons. 1, the life points issue. If you don't see the Gold Pride spell or the Punk cards, your Gold Pride cards are just bricks. 2, Dimension Shifter. It eats your whole deck. And 3, the Synchro Pool is a lot weaker than you might remember. Levels 6, 9, and 11 are just not particularly good for end board interaction. All in all, it's not there yet, but the engine has potential in an upcoming meta, provided they get a powerful second wave of support. I've said that sentence about every TCG exclusive archetype released during the past 3 years. Thanks for watching. I'd like to give a quick shout out to my patrons on patreon.com, but specifically Elena Tincher, Alex Dominguez, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, BB Poison, Brett Henry, Chaotic Meatball, Crispy, Dank Magician of Chaos, DJ Elephant, Going Down Swinging, Grant Curry, John Piet, Jordan Coons, Jordan Devroe, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Lockstone, Materiality, MBT Play Madolce, Megalith is Fake Goth, Mike Carlotti, NC Conroy, NH6574, Rose Lapine, Roos Mosquito, Sarah Routledge, Solar Flare, Talarian 101, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Vincent Storm, Wave Motion Ganon, Wonder Waffle, and Yor. Couldn't have done it without you.